I'm not in the business of building laundromats to fail. We try to match the risk with the risk profile. What is your geographical range? We've got a bunch of really cool things that are sort of on the market. And there's your opportunity. Your distributor is your cavalry.
Hey everyone, Dave Men's Laundromat Millionaire here in Cincinnati, Ohio, and me and my beautiful wife Carla are here with a fantastic guest with another amazing episode of Laundromat Millionaire Business Podcast. We appreciate you joining us today. This is going to be a lot of fun, guys, because what we're going to talk about is something that I get asked questions about all the time, and I know other people do too. And what that is should I build a new laundromat? And if I should not build a new laundromat, what's the flip side of that? Should I buy an existing zombie mat, rundown laundromat, and should I retrofit it and turn it into a beautiful modernized laundromat? So that's what we're going to talk about today. Carla, how are you doing today?
I am great, and I'm excited about our guest today. Today we have with us JD Dixon. He is from Nashville, Tennessee, where he owns National Laundry Equipment, LLC, a distributorship of Huebsch equipment. In addition to the distributorship, he also owns a few laundromats himself. He has a great passion for helping the independent laundromat owner, helping them to be the best owners they can. In addition to that, he is also a jiu-jitsu athlete as well. So I am really excited to have JD here with us today, and we are going to learn a lot about starting your own laundromat, whether to build it new or to refab an existing one. So JD, welcome. It is so good to meet you.
Hello, thank you for that. That's awesome.
Yeah. Well, we are excited to have you on the show today. As you probably know, one of the things we like to do to get started, we feel like the business owners and entrepreneurs that make this country and this world a great place we all have unique and fabulous stories, and yes, some trauma associated with our journeys in most cases. But what we'd like to do to get proper context is to get just a real quick version of kind of your backstory, and you can decide what that looks like: your childhood, your college days, whatever, your pre-business entrepreneurial journey, whatever it looks like. Can you just kind of take us back a little bit and kind of walk us through what made JD Dixon who he is today as a person?
Sure. Well, I grew up on a farm in Fairview, Tennessee. I learned to fix whatever was broken. We didn't call anybody to come fix the truck or the tractor or whatever. We did it ourselves. And, I had my hands greasy probably, long before I was a teenager. And, that really helped early on in my company. And ended up going to Furman University and thought I wanted to go the biology route. Got a job in a lab at Vanderbilt, sort of wanting to transition into pharmacology. Ended up running the mouse room for one of the research buildings. So I was in charge of like 650 mice.
So did you actually do any experimentation, or you just took care of the mice?
Oh, I did a lot of experimentation. Yeah, I did. I was a worker bee for a brilliant and wonderful man named Doug Vaughn. And then under him was Masood Aaron and a guy named Baidong Hu. And they, holy smokes, just next level brilliant. We actually knocked genes out of mice, replaced them with other genes, did some amazing things.
How cool.
With the mouse model in the context of helping people with atherosclerosis. And it was a super cool time, but I learned that it wasn't for me. And being in charge of a mouse room, you come home and your wife says you're going to shower before you do anything. and it was, and it just wasn't for me for a variety of reasons. And I really respect those people. I love science. I'm a big believer in it. After that, I kind of went through sort of a lost period where I, became a wilderness emergency medical technician and, did some search and rescue type stuff and all that kind of thing. And then ended up landing in a little retail sort of outfit, quickly became the guy that kind of ran the store, and then went to business school, graduated from business school, got a job with a little boutique private equity firm in Munich, Germany, which was pretty awesome. Ended up flying around on airplanes all the time and doing that. And, you know, it was great for a guy who was in his late 20s, but pretty soon you get tired of riding an airplane 200 days a year. And, you know, I was talking to one of the principals of the company, and he said, you know, I'd love to help you get started on your own. So I started getting on bizbuysell.com and looked at a bunch of businesses, had a business broker, but, you know, we looked at all these different businesses, from pallet companies to this and that and everything else. So finally I walked into National Equipment Company, and Juanita and Roy Elder were sitting there. I think Juanita was maybe 77, and it had kind of gotten into a situation where, you know, he was dead in the water. You know, I mean, we didn't have $200,000 in revenue my first year, but I walked in and there was, you know, Juanita and Roy, and there was a phone, and there was a typewriter, and then there was a ledger book that went back to 1947, like a handwritten, you know, trial balance ledger book that was this big, written in little tiny numbers. And I was sitting there going, whoa,
Wow.
you know, all I need to do is go selling, right? Well, we didn't have a line. We were a Dexter sub-distributor. It has helped me because I know the Dexter product pretty well. We were a Dexter sub-distributor for John Subs at Southern Automatic Equipment. And so, you know, we basically bought from him and then sold in our market. And I did everything. I did, except, you know, Juanita basically ran the phones, and I kept the books, and I did the service calls, and I did the sales. And I remember it was a really big thing for me. Right up the street, there was a plumber selling an old F-250 that was, this thing's so old, it was a straight six. I'm not kidding. Like a 6-cylinder engine and an F-250. It was a gasser. And I think the thing gets about 6 or 7 miles a gallon. And it didn't have air conditioning. And I remember how huge it was. I was like, I could buy this vehicle. We have a company vehicle now, you know. And
You've arrived.
yeah.
When you buy a company vehicle, you've arrived.
And oh man, I was big time. You know,
Yeah.
I don't even know how many miles it is. It's well, it's on the farm now. It's like our farm truck. It's phenomenal. I think the last time it actually went on the road was, I don't know, maybe 8 or 9 years ago. But yeah, then the rest is history. You know, we National Laundry Equipment has just done so well, and I'm so blessed to have a fantastic staff. You know, I've got David Pitt, who's running the company for me. He's the general manager, and he was a senior NCO in the Army. And I've got John Pell, who is just a phenomenal salesman, and his heart is really in it, and really interested in helping the independent guy succeed. We, of all the 30 some odd laundromats we've built and all this other stuff, we've never had a laundromat go out of business. All the retools we've done have been successful. It's really great to have a sales guy who gets to know his clients and loves his clients and really wants to see them succeed, because those guys are really hard to find. It's a lot easier to find that in the business owner than it is the guy who's actually running the sales, because the guy that's running the sales is paycheck depends on how much he sells, right?
Yeah.
Right.
But John has an amazing heart, and he's just so passionate, and so is David. And David running the service side, he gets to deal with everything that happens when things don't go right, and he's just so calm and so capable. And I've got Matt and Mike and Jeremy and Johnny and all the other folks that are involved in everything from cleaning to collecting to doing service.
So the company's definitely grown since you first took ownership.
Well, okay, I gotta know, JD, where's the typewriter? Is it still there?
No, the typewriter.
Typewriter's
gone.
Okay.
The ledger
Because I always talk about modernizing the laundromat industry, so I can't have a guest on here still using a typewriter.
I know it. Yeah.
No, I'm kidding.
Boy, she would sit there. She would do marketing, and I sat there with her forever. And we did marketing. I remember sitting there on July 4th one time, and literally we would type out everybody's name and send them letters. And I thought, oh my gosh. And finally I was like, we're not doing this anymore. You have to learn how to use a computer, right? And by golly, she did it. Yeah, I mean, she didn't even know how to turn the thing on. I don't think she'd ever turned one on. Next thing I know, she's doing shipping. She's doing all this stuff. I mean, she was amazing. She's not with me anymore.
Yeah.
I miss her.
Yeah, my experience has been that not just in my team, but my team's amazing. But my experience has been that if you look at the personality and the character traits and the integrity of a small business owner, which we're very proud of our organizations, but we're small business owners in the grand scheme of things, right?
Oh, for sure.
That most if not all small businesses, even by default, I would argue, take on the personality of their founder and owner. So the reality is that you have a great organization. You have fantastic people that work for you. I've met many of them. They are amazing people. You are attracted to amazing clients, or they are attracted to you, I should say, and want to work with you as a distributor because of who you are and because of the team that you've built. But the point is, while all of them deserve credit, the reality is that your organization, National Laundry Equipment, is a reflection of JD Dixon. And this is one of the things that I love about the distributor model in our industry. A lot of people, attack it for different reasons, for it being antiquated or whatever. And maybe there's just a little bit of truth to that, and maybe the way we organize things or whatever, that's fine. But the reality is that usually people that attract the distributorship model, and I don't want to go too far down this road, but people that aren't fans of it, usually they aren't either relationship people or they haven't built the proper relationship with their local distributor. Now, sometimes that can be that distributor hasn't earned the right to earn that relationship, right, with the customer. But the flip side of that is someone who's not a distributor myself. I tell people constantly, if you want to have a gold mine of an equipment distributor, you know what we, the laundromat owner, need to do? We need to be a gold mine of a customer.
Mhm.
Meaning that we need to look at this partnership as a value proposition that is a give and take. It's a win-win relationship, just like any marriage or any other relationship in the world. And you will get into it what you put into it. And there are poor distributors out there. No one in the industry is going to tell you there aren't. But there are amazing distributors out there that the beauty of this industry, one of the things I love about amazing distributors like you guys is you guys are, the laws of supply and demand are so tipped in your favor that you guys get to, and I don't know if this might make you uncomfortable, but I tell people the best distributors in our industry, they have more business than they know what to do with because the laws of supply and demand are tipped in their favor. And you know what that means? They get to cherry pick. And I'm not saying you do that. I'm just saying the best distributors in our industry get to cherry pick. The reason they get to cherry pick is they have more business than they know what to do with. And so they get to look at me, Dave Menz, as a customer and say, do I want to do business with them or not? You don't have to take every customer that walks in the door. And so that puts the onus on me, the laundromat owner, the operator, to say, well, I need to be the type of customer that JD wants to work with. And that's where the beauty of this relationship really takes off. And what I found is the sky's the limit for not only the distributor and your business, but me, the operator, and my business. And me and my relationship with HM Company is a perfect example of that. And I know you have many customers that feel the same way about you and your relationship. They would point to you for their success, and you would point to them for their success. And everyone that's listening, whether you're in the laundromat industry or you're not in the laundromat industry, this is the key to business. The key to business, no matter what your product is to find the relationships, invest in them, build in them, find win-win scenarios, as Dale Carnegie calls it. Find those situations, embrace them, and then nurture them. So I know I went off on a little bit of tangent. I apologize. I'm going to let you get back to your story again.
No,
but the reality is that makes you that makes you what you are, and it makes the Nashville market and the way that you all in Nashville, because folks, I'm in Cincinnati, the way that you all serve your communities and your what I call sub communities in Nashville and surrounding areas, Kentucky, Alabama, the other places that you offer your services, it's what makes those communities better.
Mhm.
So
Well,
kudos
thank
to
you.
you for that.
That's really high praise, but I'll be the first to tell you I'm very lucky. But thank you. And then to what you said, you're not saying like, look, the distributor should be able to name the price and you have to pay it. That's not what we're talking about. We're talking about like the relationship, and I'm a huge believer in this, the relationship that the infantry has with the cavalry, right?
Go! Follow your commander!
A distributor, if you're a good laundromat operator, your distributor is your cavalry. That's the eyes and ears. That's
Amen.
how you know your market. You got to run your store. You need to have somebody that knows the market, knows the new stuff that's coming out, knows what technology may be used for you, against you, if it's good, bad, sideways, whatever. And then really what you share is information. And if you can share information, have a partnership with somebody who you trust to share information, but won't go just sharing it with everybody.
There you go.
Number one.
Yeah.
And then number two, will actually learn from it, delve into it, and then come back with, real feedback. I mean, then you really have something.
And I think I'm going to point this out, JD, because I think this is really important for people. When you're looking for a great distributor, you're not always looking at what they're doing. You should be looking at why they're doing it. And that's part of that relational mentality, getting to know them and finding that out. Because I think that there is a stigma associated with distributors owning laundromats, that they're competing with me.
Mm-hmm.
And there are situations where that is absolutely accurate. There is no disputing that.
My mindset is, look, I'm going to build a laundromat and I want it to bring me in a little bit of income, but I want to test theories and I want to, have something to show my customers. And, I want, proof of concept. Right.
I think
you're more focusing on being a better distributor.
Yes.
Like you have laundromats to improve yourself as a distributor.
Operating stores of my own does give me a chance to try out a bunch of stuff. In fact, in this store here, I've got a bunch of really cool things that are sort of on the market, not quite, coming soon. I've got Huebsch Touch here, and then I've got stack washer dryers. And this particular store is a ground up store that we're building as a company store to test out sort of a model that I have in mind, especially in the Nashville market and some of these cities. We're seeing rent go to places where the laundromats don't really want to have to pay. I'm hoping that this model will bear out. I've been a bigger store guy. I've been a believer in, look, if it's not 3,500 square feet, let's not do it. And it's worked. But see these washer dryer stacks back here. Okay,
explain to us what you mean by that, because I think when you say washer dryer stacks, I think a lot of people just think stack dryer. Like I don't think they actually understand what you mean by that. And maybe I don't know. I know you don't want to carry your laptop around, but maybe if you could show, I don't know.
I can. Yeah. I mean, if
you're in a store as much as you, as much as you're able to, I think it's amazing to share this information.
Yeah, so we'll go look at this. Now, this is a new product for Alliance. It started out kind of in the OPL world, and now they're offering it in the coin world. So if you can see, so here's the little Huebsch Touch control here. You can hit it, and it says washer ready. Well, you can't read that because it's not going to let you.
Yeah, it glows too much.
But anyway, it's really cool. Trust me, I wouldn't lie to you. But anyway, so you hit it and it says, I'm ready to wash. And you hit it and it says, hey, look, this washer this particular one on cold water is $7 and yada, 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 right? So this is the washer, okay? So the washer's on the bottom and the dryer's on top, okay?
What size is that? What size is that washer dryer?
This is a 50.
Okay.
Right? So this is a 50, 55. So my concern is it takes longer to dry clothes than it does to wash them. As a general rule, even with 200G equipment, it takes longer to dry than it does to wash. So my concern is if somebody's got clothes in the dryer, is somebody who's waiting to wash going to use the washer?
Right.
I don't know. So that's going to be a pass fail for me.
Right? Is that the only equipment you have in there is the combo, or do you have other individual washers and dryers?
I did put soft mounts. So my big machines over here are soft mounts. Okay. And the reason is they're 400 plus Gs. And I've got soft mounts on the other end too. And so they'll kind of speed up dry times. But anyway, yeah. And I don't know if you can see this, but this says touch anywhere to get started. You're going to touch it. Can you even read that? You can't.
Once you touch it, it just the whole thing glows. But if you could just tell us what it says.
Well, what it says is it asks you up at the top. It asks you to choose your heat, and then it asks you to choose your minutes, and then it gives you the price. And you hit next. It's really a slick thing.
Yeah, they're very interactive. And I don't know if you know this, JD, but I'm building a store right now here in Cincinnati with those controls, and they're amazing. And the thing I love about them is they're so interactive. Literally, it is touch, and then it asks you a question, and it touches, and it asks you a question.
That's right.
They're incredibly user friendly. Just amazing controls.
Does it have the ability to change languages? Like if we have customers come in that are Spanish speaking, does it have that option in it?
Yeah, so I really wish you could see it. It's super cool.
Yeah.
They have these little flags up in the right-hand corner, and you push the flag, and then it has a drop-down list of because I don't know how many, I'm going to make up a number.
Several
7,386,492 languages.
We won't fact check you.
There's more languages there than I even knew. It's
No
really
kidding.
cool,
Wow.
and it does all of these things. And then you can customize what you want it to, like the approach screen. You can customize what you want it to say. So I've really simplified mine. So mine, but like you hit next on normal wash, you can almost create, not quite, but almost create an OPL level precision with these. But I chose to be a little bit more simplified. And so I just have normal, you hit next, and then you can add add-ons, like you can do a speed wash. It just basically takes time off. Let's say you're in a big hurry. You can do ultra wash, you can do deluxe wash, you can do this, that, and everything else. And the cool thing is it defines all of this stuff.
I know you said it's a fairly small 2,000 square foot store, I think you said, but you've clearly built a state-of-the-art store.
So,
modernized controls.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I mean, anybody that knows me knows I'm a big believer in the Santa Wash system. We do that.
What is Santa Wash? Not everyone knows.
Well, I'll get into that. One of the options is to, when you walk up. So basically, I just offer 3 options when you walk up to a machine. I say normal wash, and then as you push next, you can choose more and more things. And then I have high speed spin. So let's say you've got a bunch of stuff and you just want to spin them out again. That also gives me the option of, if somebody says this thing didn't spin out my clothes, I don't have to run an entire cycle. Right? I can get online and just boom, hit that high speed spin, and it'll just go straight into the spin cycle. Right?
And you don't have to get your RL003 key out and pull the lid off and rapid advance it.
Yeah, right.
And some people know what I'm talking about.
Well, yeah. And then the customers really also appreciate that, because instead of, okay, I'm going to start, let's say I'm not here and it's at a time where there's nobody here. Customer calls in and says, didn't spin out my clothes. They don't have to wait an entire 25 minutes or whatever for it to go through an entire cycle just to spin the clothes out.
Right.
It can just spin the clothes out. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's
you
like,
can control
7
that
minutes
from
and
your
they're
phone.
done.
You can control the machine from your phone.
Oh yeah.
How
I mean,
cool.
we've had that capability for a while. I wouldn't have a laundromat without it. But anyway, the third option, I've got pre-sanitize, and you click it, you touch it, and it says sanitize the washer before you load, sanitize only. And it's, I charge like $1 for it. And so even though the Santa Wash machine uses ozone to sanitize the wash wheel every time cold water goes through it, which is every single cycle, because even on a hot cycle, you're rinsed with cold water. Some people, and a lot of people, will pay that extra $1 just to know, look, boom, this thing's sanitized. So all it does is it agitates a few times, it lights up the Santa Wash machine, runs ozone through it, it reaches 1 part per million ozone and dumps, and bang, you got a clean washer. So it's pretty cool, even though, it was already done, right? But
right, it was already done with the rinse on the previous wash.
Yeah, but if it's something that is a huge high margin thing for you to do,
absolutely,
offer it, because people are going to buy it.
So let me ask you a question. Is that you've built a beautiful store there, and the reason I wanted to have you on the show is because I'm aware of other stores you built before this one, and I know this is like opening any day. But I have friends that you've built stores for, and I've seen your brother's stores, and you know how to build a laundromat. So really what we want to get into and talk about today is the concept of why would someone, and let's say hypothetically they're new to the industry, but it could even be someone with an existing laundromat and they're deciding to expand. You as a distributor, you get people that come to you on a regular basis, I would assume daily, but probably weekly or monthly for sure. And they come to you, and I would guess one of the first things they say to you is, should I build a new laundromat or should I buy an existing laundromat, whether it's a rundown, dumpy laundromat, and retrofit it and fix it up? That's a conversation I have quite often, and as a coach, and I'm not a distributor. I imagine you have that conversation quite a bit. I want to walk through how you answer that question, because I like to tell people in my coaching, the answer to almost every question you ask me is it depends. That's the answer. That drives them crazy, but it's the truth. And then we got to talk about the parameters and the aspects of how we make decisions. Can you walk us through how you and your organization make those decisions. And obviously it's based on supply and demand and demographics and square footage and
Sure.
layouts
Yeah.
and all these things, because I
Right.
think this is a big conversation that, quite frankly, JD, I don't think has had enough.
No, I agree with you. Now,
Yeah.
what do I do when somebody comes and asks me, do I need to open one or do I need to buy a zombie mat? Well, like we said before, the first thing you have to look at is availability. Okay, what's available in the market right now that we can focus on? Because I'm telling you, the way building is in any of these towns, the way codes are, the way construction is, the way equipment availability is, it's terrifying. I
Well,
mean,
and
like,
building costs right now, since
oh,
COVID, building costs are through the roof.
well, and nobody has equipment to sell because you can't get computer boards, right?
Yeah.
And it's a problem. Availability is a big thing, right? So what's available? If I've got a zombie mat in the market that I know, or a fine laundry that somebody just wants to sell,
Right.
and from my experience, and I have been blessed with a lot of experience valuing companies, and I know how to do this, and I know what's bunk and what's real, and if you value a company, you either value it by the assets or you value it by the cash flow. You don't get both.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like, a lot of laundry owners think, yeah, well, my cash flow is worth this, and then I'm going to sell you the equipment. No, that's not how this works.
You don't have cash flow without equipment.
Right. And it's just, but I get it. Like, and a lot of laundry owners are not real well versed in how you sell a business, and that's fine. And everybody's baby is the best baby ever. I mean, I have 2 children, and they're both going to be president, one right after another. We're going to have 16 years of
16
Dixon.
years.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
That's right.
But anyway, so you have to you have to really look at what's going on in the market. Okay, is there a location? And one of the things that a good distributor does is they always looking for locations, right? If you've got sales guys and you're a distributor, and those sales guys kind of have a light day, they need to be running miles on those vehicles looking around, right? And you call your distributor and you're like, well, what do you guys have? They should know. They should be like, well, you need to go to this market. You need to look at that market, or whatever. They're going to be a little careful in the beginning as to telling you, hey, this space here, because right now the most valuable thing in this entire industry is location. Okay?
Absolutely.
Now, they also should say, well, there's a lot of good stuff out there, but I'm going to make up a name. Bobby Furtick over here has been a customer of mine for 10 years. Is really trying to get out. He's got a great store. It needs some work. Let's go look at it. Or these folks are really not doing a good job. Let's see if we can contact them. And so it's going to depend on availability. Now, first and foremost, and most importantly, we're going to try to get to know you. Okay. We spend a lot of time trying to get to know our clients and our future clients, and it always pays dividends. I have clients out there that would not have survived building a laundromat from the ground up, but they are brilliant laundromat owners, but they just do not have the risk profile to do that. There's nothing wrong with this, right?
So risk profile is very important.
It
and
is.
whether to what are the reasons for that? Can you explain the thought process?
Yeah, so some people just have more of an understanding of risk. You know what I mean? Some people have much more, and it's hard to discuss this without bringing in negative connotations towards someone who may have less of a risk profile. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
But if you look at some of the greatest businessmen of our time, like Sam Walton, they invested in sure deals, right? They only made investments in sure deals. So, but some people just can't live with themselves if they're taking the amount of risk that it would take to start something ground up. And it's really up to me, and in my case, John, to figure that out. And if we've gotten better at figuring out who that is, and then we start moving them toward, purchasing a laundromat, and then watching them, use their own creativity and their own business acumen to improve that, which is just as good as building one from the ground up. I mean, there's no dishonor in that. There's no honor in going and building one from the ground up. And these are business decisions. And at the end of the day, the person who's spending all the money and taking all the risk, you are going to have to reconcile that with yourself and your family. We try to match the risk with the risk profile. You know what I mean? So you have availability, and then you have that, and then there is that third group that does both, and those people are the ones that really make it, right? They go driving down the road and they're like, I want to own that store. You know what I mean? Or they go driving down the road and they're like, hey, look at that spot. I'm going to build a store there. You know what I mean?
That would be
those
Dave.
are
He does that all the time.
Yeah.
The store I'm building right now, I've been driving by for 10 years saying I'm going to own that store someday.
Yeah, there you go.
I'm closing on it next week.
Hey, congratulations.
Yeah.
Congratulations. My brother's that way. So my brother, he looked at some property in Tullahoma for years, and he finally just walked over there and bought it. So yeah, so there's that. It's the risk profile, right? So what is we try to make a judgment call on where would this customer be most successful? Would they be most successful in a turnaround situation? Would they be most successful in a already successful laundromat with $250,000 in revenue, but it just needs that creative push? Or would they be are they the kind of guy that wants to wade into that gunfight, guns blazing, build that laundromat and show everybody how it's done? And they're those three people bleed into each other, but by and large they're kind of three different people, and so we really try to focus on what is the best for our customer. And sometimes our customer doesn't agree with us, and then there's a conversation that is sometimes a little bit hard, and I've had situations where customers have been like, well, why didn't you give me that location? And then, they get sort of angry, and we're like, well, we put you in this location, you're doing great. And then, 6 months down the road, and we're still trying to build that location, and the customer that ended up taking it over, is okay with it because their risk profile, they're like, man, I'm glad you didn't put us over there. Like, we would not have survived this. Like, this would have been terrible for my marriage, that kind of thing. So,
well, we don't want to dive too far down this road, but I will say that you're referring to Steve Andrews, which is a friend of mine and a friend of yours. He owns the wash house in Nashville, and it's probably in a suburb of Nashville, but Nashville's all the same to me. Okay.
In Antioch, right? Yeah.
Antioch. Okay. And it's a gorgeous store. Go
he's
Google
building
it.
his second, and he's working out terms on his third. So he is rocking.
Yes, he is.
This guy.
But what I was going to tell people is, if you Google him or check out his story, he was in an interview podcast on my friend Jordan Barry's podcast, Laundromat Resource. I'm not sure which episode, but go check that out. It's a great episode. But the point is that the things you're talking about are actually some of the things that kind of came to fruition with him through that process. And I may be misstating this, you'd know more than me, but wasn't it over a year that it took to actually get it open because of some complications in the process of, and I don't remember the details, getting the drains, getting the water lines, those types of things that are issues that you need to have the right, what you're saying, if I'm understanding you correctly, is, the Steve Andrews of the world obviously was able to absorb that, and his risk profile and his personality allowed him to move forward where it would have kept some people up at night, or even, dare I say, broken some people. Is that kind of what you're talking about? Because I know that was not a smooth journey for him.
Absolutely. And he was the perfect guy for that situation, man. And that store right now he's a one store guy, and he's making more than he did in corporate America. I mean, this store is amazing. Like, this store really, this guy has gotten everything he can get out of the store, and it's beautiful and it's clean.
No, he hasn't. I'm going to correct you, because he's a Happy Nest operator, and we're just getting started with him. So don't tell him.
Okay. Yeah. No. But yeah,
I'm playing. I'm kidding.
Man, no, you're right. But see, when he ends up with 3,
right there you go.
Then he's not going to have throughput problems.
Yes.
I mean, right now he's got throughput problems.
Yes, he does.
He does not have enough capacity
to
meet the demand right now.
Yes. The laws of supply and
So-
demand are tipped in his favor,
Yeah.
but almost too far, right?
Right. And
Extenuating.
he has laundromats all around him. It's not like there's no competing laundromats. I mean, you can walk to the next laundromat in under 5 minutes.
So let me ask you this question. Are any of them even in the ballpark of his value proposition?
No,
There you
not
go.
even close.
There
Not
you
even
go.
close. They're all dead.
There you go.
And the people that go there are the low cost, the people that are driven by price. And those are the people that end up messing up your bathroom.
That's right.
And of course, now Steve has problems. We all have problems.
Sure.
I mean, I think one of these days we all need to get together and really come together and all of us write one chapter about the craziest thing that happened in your laundromat. And,
Amazing book.
I guarantee you it'll be an international bestseller because it is wild. Like the stuff that goes on in these places, humans are just humans.
So tell me this, JD. We talked about risk profile. We talked about getting to know their personalities and whether that makes it good. So we're talking about the customer, the consumer that's coming to you. They're interested in the laundromat industry.
I just wanted to kind of clarify that I understand it correctly, what you would say as far as risks. So like the lowest risk would be buying a store that's already successful. You're just going to tweak it. So that would be the person who's very risk adverse. That would probably be their best option. And then the
but
next
they're not
would
risk
be,
averse, remember, because they're buying a business.
well, yes.
So
not
this is
as
not somebody who
not as willing to take on risk.
Right. Yes.
Yeah, the risk averse is people that are teachers.
There you go.
And I can say that because
I
it's my
would've
wife.
married you then. But anyway,
That's true.
I must have some level of risk acceptance.
That's true. That's very true.
So the next would be maybe buying like the zombie mat, but looking into it as much as you can. And then the highest level of risk you would say would be like starting your own from ground zero, building your own. Do I understand that correctly?
Yes, absolutely.
I'm going to flip to the other side of the script for a second. So assuming you have the right risk profile individual, they have the capital to do whatever they want to do in any scenario. What do you look at as far as market opportunities, the laws of supply and demand, layouts, those types of, obviously location, things like that? How do you guide them through someone that doesn't know what they don't know and they're looking to you as the distributor to help guide them through this process? What are the things that you teach them to look for and simultaneously the things you're looking for?
Right. So we actually, we spend a lot of time with our customers in the beginning. And then a lot of them make the decision never to pursue the laundry business. It's just not for them. And we, of course, don't ever try to shoo anybody away. We want them to be in the laundry business, but, they make this decision for X, Y, or Z reason. And we're sort of monetarily SOL there. But the nice thing is, there are enough people that get involved in the laundry business that, that's just one of the expenses of my business, right?
Yeah. And they're the people that are probably going to be successful. You kind of weed out the people that maybe this isn't the right business for them.
Right. Or they self-weed out. Yeah, they self-weed out. And a lot of them invest in a different business or,
Sure.
This is just one of the 11 things they're looking at or,
Right.
whatever it is. Right.
Right.
So, and then there are a lot of good business people who own laundromats and, also own X, Y, and Z other businesses, but we spend a lot of time with them. And one of the big things we want to know is what is your geographical range? Are you comfortable? How far are you willing to drive? And then that will set a lot of our geographic thought for them. And that'll push us one way or another, right? So if they're like, well, I want to be within, X miles of this specific neighborhood, which happens sometimes, then we want to do a competitive analysis. And then we may be talking about, trying to buy a laundromat, right? Because I'm not in the business of building laundromats to fail. And so I'm also not in the business of cutting the pie so many times in a neighborhood that nobody makes it. Right.
So when you're dissecting that market, what are you looking at? What are the parameters that you're looking at? And you can talk about the obvious, like demographics, for example.
Sure. I mean, everybody knows, right? You want 40% renters. You want a certain income level. You want a lot of kids. You want, specific. You're looking for specific things, a specific type of person, because you need what's called the dedicated user, right? And then like the lady that just came in with a bunch of comforters and pillows, I mean, she's awesome. She just came in, I'm not even open, but she saw me in here and she's like, can I wash? You know, we actually had to break because I had to help her do that. Sorry about that. But anyway, so they're great, right? But you can't count on these people, you know.
Right.
And that's one of the things that Happiness does a really good job of, and that's where I think a lot of the industry is going to go, because there are zero people out there now who have families that have time to do laundry. And so if you can pick up their laundry and drop off their laundry, they will pay whatever you ask.
Yeah, what I always tell people in that type of conversation is there's a difference in a laundromat and a laundry center. And that's semantics to a certain extent, but the customer that's in your store right now doing comforters and things like that isn't quote unquote a laundromat customer, meaning they're not that weekly customer that's going to be in there doing their laundry every week. They're a valued customer, don't get me wrong. But the reality is they're a, you know, I don't even know if I want to say an outlier. They're an exception to the laundromat. So we go back to the laundromat for a minute and focus on that. What makes a successful laundromat? Why would you decide to build a new laundromat in a certain market? Are you looking for, obviously we're looking at demographics. Obviously we're looking at competitive analysis. What does the competitive analysis look like? How does you and your team walk through that process with a potential laundromat owner, and look at existing laundromats and say, none of these are the right opportunity. So maybe I do need to check my risk aversion and maybe build a laundromat, or maybe even someone that's not quite as risk averse might say, hey, there's an opportunity to take over this existing laundromat and make it into essentially a brand new laundromat, even though it's already existing. How do you guys walk them through that process and kind of that thought process?
Right. So the amazing thing about this business, and it still blows my mind, is that we went through a significant amount of time where a lot of places didn't really have any modernization. And so if we go to a location,
Agreed.
and I don't know how this happened, and it really is the fault of the distributors, I think. You know, I think the distributors did a terrible job of bringing new technology to the laundry owners, you know? And there was a really bad sort of outbreak of, well, it's working, so I'm going to keep it the same. And really, laundry owners were colluding. We weren't meaning to, but we were kind of colluding with each other. So, like, you know, if Sheila over there doesn't upgrade her equipment, why would I upgrade mine? You know, if she doesn't invest in this technological advantage, then why would I do that? It's just going to cost me money, right?
Right.
So, anyways, there's a lot of places in this country where you go into a town and there hasn't been anything new in 30 years in the laundry business, and people are still using, you know, like these little square laundry machines, you know, that are maybe like Harvest Gold or some kind of weird color. You know, you go in, and then as distributors, you should kind of already know who's involved there. And if their mentality is, well, I'm not going to do anything, and I like where I am, and I'm also not going to sell, right? So that's kind of a place you're going to look.
You just said something really valuable. So you were talking about the value of a distributor knowing their market and what I call all the sub-markets within that. So a part of the value proposition that a great distributor, and I don't mean good, but a great distributor will bring to someone like me or someone new to the industry is they're going to come and they're going to meet with you. You're already going to have a lot of this information, right?
Yes.
Now,
you should have a ton of it. Yes.
Correct. And maybe not all of it, and not in every specific sub-market if they are wanting to be 5 miles from their home or something like that. But you're going to have a lot of this information. And it is based on things that I talk about all the time, like value proposition. How are they modernizing their payment systems? Just as an example, are they modernizing their equipment? Are they willing to invest in things like SaniWash?
Are they willing to invest in Ozone? This thing right here, like, this is what we do.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we clean, and it is a competitive advantage. And I know so many people that have these things. You walk in and you talk to the customers, why do you come here? And they say, oh, because of the sanitizer. They call it the sanitizer.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. So when it comes to that competitive analysis, you're looking for people that have not modernized their laundromats,
Right.
that have been in business.
Flat refuse to. There's no reason why they don't. They've got a great business. They've got customers that are coming. And the only reason why the customers are going there is because they have to.
There you go.
Right. You want to create, like your stores. You walk into the store and you don't feel like a second-class citizen, like, man, I can't afford a washing machine. Like everybody thinks people go to the laundromat because they can't afford a washing machine. That is
Right.
the wrong mentality.
Yep.
Right. And those are the people that have that mentality that end up losing in the laundromat game. Because if you want to win in the laundromat game, then you go and you find a location that's got a bunch of those kind of around. And then you put in a laundry in there that people are like, wow, this looks like a spaceship,
Mm-hmm.
like, holy smokes, this thing, I can bank on the fact that this washer's clean. Man, look at the floor. The floor is clean, right? And remember, the first thing in the laundromat is the smell. The second is the floor. Your smell is dirty and nasty, and so many laundromats have that awful laundromat smell. And if the floor is dirty, people, man, bam, the second they walk in, this place is dirty.
Yeah.
And then third, I would say, is your bathroom. But maintaining a public bathroom is the bane of all business owners. But it's something.
It certainly is. And I always tell people when it comes to the things that are the hardest to control and to do, the better you do them, the more of a market differentiator it is for you.
That's right.
So you can treat it as a negative or you can treat it as a positive. It's the same scenario. It's just how you're going to react and respond to it.
That's exactly the mentality that makes you successful, because you walk into a laundry and you can very quickly figure out why there's so many people. You just walk in and know.
Yeah.
And if you walk in and it's not that way, then there's your opportunity.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. And if a laundry is full of people, and it's gross,
it's subpar.
You got an opportunity.
Yes, you do. Yeah. And that's a great point. That's a great indicator. We can psychoanalyze demographics all day long, there's a value in them. I'm not saying there's not. We can do that all day long. I always tell people, go into a laundromat that is subpar or less than on a Sunday afternoon at 3:00. Mm-hmm. If it's busy, you have an opportunity. Because I always tell people the laws of supply and demand are undefeated. They are undefeated. So that's right. You want to choose a market, or a sub-market is what I call them, a 1, 3, 5 mile radius around your location or your potential location. And you're looking for a situation where the laws of supply and demand are tipped in your favor. And what I mean by that is yours as the business owner, meaning the people in that market, in that community, are not properly being served. They're being served in some capacity, but not properly. Those are the type of things we're looking for. And that's what you're saying.
And that's exactly right. And it's the mentality of whoever's managing the line.
Yes. Yeah.
And sometimes people start out with best of intentions, but as things go, their attention goes elsewhere and things go down, and that's okay. That's a natural course of a business. Then you go through the choice of, okay, do we find out who the owner of this is? And if the distributor should already know, do we find out who the owner is and then approach them and say, hey, look, we'd kind of like to purchase your business? Or is it a situation to where, man, there is some great new real estate right over here, so maybe they just built a building that's phenomenal, or even better, maybe there's a building for sale, or even better, maybe there's a lot for sale on a main road that you put your own building and do everything from scratch.
Right.
Because if you control the way you do your infrastructure, you have won for 30 years.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Anytime you can involve that real estate, that's amazing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And if you're dealing with somebody else's infrastructure, it's a struggle from the beginning.
Yeah.
Because, if you don't do the electrical, the water, and the gas right in this business, you're fighting forever. It's hard.
Yeah.
Huge issue.
And that's the biggest danger of buying a zombie mat, is your infrastructure. What is there that supports these industrial machines? Okay. So you have to have the infrastructure to support these things. If you don't have that, and stuff is already in the ground and stuff is, already in the walls, it actually costs more, and it's more difficult to fix that than to just do it yourself.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? If you got to take everything out and start over, then you're better off just starting from square one.
So let me ask you this, in the context of what we're talking about, JD, you're saying that if you can find an older, back into this conversation of buy or build and retrofit and build, modernize and build, what we're looking at is If you can find an existing laundromat where the infrastructure is in good shape, it's not going to be great, right? Because it's
Right.
older, but it's in
You're gonna have
good
to change
shape.
something.
Correct. Then you're still going to have to evolve and invest in those things, but you can do it over time if it's quality and it's sound, even if it's maybe a little old and a little dated and a little ugly. Because it's at the end of the day, you're saying it's water lines and gas lines and it works or it doesn't. It's falling
That's
apart
right.
in your hands or it's not. So if
Yeah.
you can find that infrastructure, then yes, that's one of the value propositions that we talk about in the industry that an older laundromat has, that you can go in and retrofit and modernize. And there's a tremendous amount of value in that infrastructure. But everybody assumes because there's a laundromat there that infrastructure is valuable. And what you're saying is there's many scenarios where it is not. It's actually a better value for the owner to build new rather than to go in and tear it all out.
Right. And you need
Is that a fair analysis?
That is exactly what I'm trying to say. And as somebody who's coming into the business or somebody who's even been in the business for a while, you really should, this is what distributors are for,
Sure.
right? We're not just middlemen.
Yep.
We are purveyors of information.
Great distributors.
Yeah. And so if you have a relationship with us, right, get us involved. And we can go in, like we walk in so many laundromats, like, you can walk in and just by the smell of it, you might be like, I feel like there's standing water in here somewhere.
Right.
But we need to figure these things out.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Not after you acquire it. You don't want to find that out after you acquire it. You want to work with a great distributor, coach, mentor that can help you determine these things beforehand. Right. And that's really ultimately kind of brings the conversation full circle. So listen, JD, thank you so much for taking the time today. Thanks for showing us your beautiful new store. I'm super excited. We can't see the details of the controls, but I'm super excited knowing that I'm getting something very similar, for sure. Thanks for explaining the Ozone system, the Santa Wash system to people.
I love it. It's fun.
Yeah, it was fantastic. So listen,
hey,
we want to
Can I show you guys one thing?
Yeah,
I'm just so proud of this. I want to show you. I want to show you infrastructure. Okay.
Sure.
This is what I mean by infrastructure. So check this out. I'm so proud of this. Look at this. So when we do infrastructure, we do it like this. Look at that. So if you can see, everything is easy to get to.
Yeah.
And,
very open.
And everything is built for the long haul. I even try to de-emphasize, rubber hoses and stuff. This is PEX because all you got to do is live through one flood where your hose broke. And then you'll realize how much water can come out of that in 2 hours.
Yeah,
it's huge. So
yes, it is.
But when you buy a laundromat, just make sure your infrastructure is such that it can be supported.
Yeah.
But like you say, there is a massive value proposition toward doing that because you already have a customer group that's coming in, that's spending money there, and they're worth exactly what you calculate they're worth, like with a discounted cash flow, if you want to do that, or if you want to do a, just a multiple analysis. That's what that's what their money and their business is worth. You can calculate that, you can bank that. And the likelihood is that's not going to go down, right? The problem with building a new laundromat, which I love building new laundromats, is you have to be okay with the idea that you don't have any calculated value.
Right.
It truly is venture. It's venture. Banks aren't going to look at you because it is venture capital to them. Thankfully, we have like Eastern Funding, we have Alliance Finance, we have all these different funding companies that will look at you. And then, Dave would be really good at telling you guys how to, and a good distributor would too, how to sort of massage how you use these different capital sources to maximize what you're doing. And if you're not doing that and you're a laundry owner, you need to think about doing that, right? It's silly not to, manage your debt the same way that you manage your income. This is a business. Do it. But anyway,
that's great advice. That's great advice. Well, listen,
So,
tell our viewers real quickly how they can reach you. And by the way, what market you serve. I know you're in Nashville. You said you serve part of Kentucky. You serve part of Alabama. Can you describe that real quickly for our viewers?
Yeah, so we have several counties down in Alabama, Huntsville and areas like that. We have basically Middle Tennessee. We go basically from just west of Crossville over to the river. So, you know, we don't go as far as Jackson, but we go close. And then we have a whole lot of Kentucky minus the Lexington market. Yeah.
So if we have people interested in talking to you as their possible future distributor, how should they reach out to you?
You know, we have a great website, nationallaundryequipment.com. It's soon to be completely redone. It's a little bit
We'll link
dated,
that in our show notes.
Yep, nationallaundryequipment.com. Yeah, you can always call us 615-885-1115. You'll probably get David on the line. He's our general manager. He's fantastic. You can hit any of us by email. So I am jd.dixon@nationallaundryequipment.com. John in sales is john.pell, and it's Pell. You know, just look us up on the internet and give us a call. We love talking to people. Like the Men's family, I absolutely love this business. I love the opportunity it gives for, you know, people like us to be independent, to not be beholden to anybody, to not have to pay franchise fees, to go out there and actually run small businesses in such a way that we really don't have, I mean, of course, we have small problems with employees, but we don't have big employee problems. I mean, go ask somebody who runs a fast food joint and ask them about employees, right? Yeah. So
it's a fairly simple business model. We've talked about that. It is, you know, especially if you don't get into the pickup and delivery and all the other types of business that you can add to it. But
right. But see, all of that stuff is add to, right? And all that stuff becomes your primary business. But you always have, you know, it's kind of like a stepwise thing. You can start with the walk-up business, and you can add layers, and by adding layers, you're not just grasping onto this complicated thing, right? You can make it as complicated or simple as you want. And
so listen, man, thank you so much for joining us today, for letting us check out your new store, even behind the scenes. We got a sneak peek before it even opened. Let us check out your Santa Wash ozone system, and giving our viewers and listeners some tips and tricks on the laundromat industry and whether to build new or to take over a retrofit store and the things associated with that. We appreciate your time. We wish you the best. And if Dave and Carla Menz can ever do anything for you, please let us know, JD.
Well, thank you, sir. And the same from me toward you guys, and just give me a call. Looking forward to seeing you guys. Come down to Nashville, visit me.
We'd love
and,
to.
I've been telling Steve
out
Andrews
there in the business, you know, if you got questions or anything like that, I mean, we really, really love to talk about the laundry business. We are that boring. So call us and we will love to talk to you about it.
Sounds good.
So thank you all.
Thank you so much. All right. Take care.
Take
all right.
care.
Bye.
Bye.